Dear viewers, back again, and we're still at the Citadel, and here we're bringing you Nile Cruise. Dear viewers, there are currently plans to improve tourism services, to develop visitor centers, introduce new seating areas, and to improve disabled access and recycling facilities. And of course, dear viewers, there's an ongoing campaign to promote Arab tourism to Egypt and social media that has gained the interest of 20 million followers and more. Today, in today's episode, with our dear guest, Mr. Mohammed Mustafa, who is a former director of the Citadel Monuments and also a tour guide. A very good day, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us in today's episode of Nile Cruise.
Mr. Mohammed, thank you very much for being with us today. First of all, the Citadel itself, what can you tell us about the history of such a place?
Citadel built by famous person, his name Saladin, in the end of the 12th century. What's the meaning citadel? It means the residence or seat of royal families. Walls and towers protecting many buildings inside. Royal palace, building for ministers, building for generals of the army, places for training soldiers, like a small city. Still as a residence or seat of royal family until the grandson of Muhammad Ali Ismail was reigning Egypt some years from inside the citadel, and he was building a palace in city center called the Abdin Palace. He get out to reign Egypt from outside the citadel. It means they use the citadel 700 years as a seat of different royal families.
Mr. Mohammed, there are currently plans to improve tourism services, of course, here in Egypt, to develop visitor centers, introduce new seating areas, and improve disabled access and recycling facilities. How do you see this important decision, sir, from your own perspective? As a touristic guide, of course, and as, of course, a director of the Citadel Monuments formerly.
Nowadays, they take care so much by the citadel to restore, to clean, big restoration. They will restore military museum, a big museum, famous one here, police museum, restore Mosque of Muhammad Ali. Will be a good time for tourists to stay a long time here inside the castle. Not short time. Many places to visit. Some museum, Mosque of Muhammad Ali, Nasser Mosque, like this.
Yes, one of the main places to be visiting here at the Citadel is the Police National Museum, or the Museum of the Police. Would you tell us more about the places inside the Police National Museum now?
Police Museum was a building before 1986 dedicated to use it as a police museum, nearly 35 years ago. Includes this museum pictures of the interior minister of Egypt from the time of Muhammad Ali until nowadays. The half of these pictures painted by hand. The second half to the right side, photos. You can't imagine, most of the people in Egypt, they didn't know interior minister in the time of the President Naguib. Interior minister was Gamal Abdel Nasser. People they didn't know was interior minister of Egypt during Naguib period. After that, inside the museum, you see the uniform of police from the time of Turkish time until nowadays. After that, famous crimes in Egypt during the last century. For example, some people trying to assassinate Gamal Abdel Nasser in 1954 and 56, they didn't succeed. After that, we see a famous person assassinated. His name, Ahmad Maher, was prime minister in the time of the King Farouk. Nukrashi Pasha also. And famous story, all the Egyptian, all the Arabs, they knew these two ladies from Alexandria, Raya Uskina. Raya Uskina, the famous story, they have, you see inside photos of these two ladies, two sisters. This photo, they took these photos in 1921 in the time of the King Fuad, Farouk's father, 100 years ago. This is the first two ladies in Egypt hanged. There were no punishment for ladies to hang. They changed especially the law, especially for them, because they found under their house 22 ladies, 22 bodies ladies they kidnapped to steal their gold. This is in 1921. Also, their husbands, Hasballah Abdulal, famous, and two assistants. 6 people hanged in 1921.
That's very interesting. Ahmed, sir, what are the touristic preferences of Arab tourists if they come to Egypt?
We expect a lot of Arab, they come after this problem, COVID-19. They leave the people to travel in Saudi Arabia, Gulf countries, and Kuwait. They start to travel to Egypt. But we expect a big number of Arab tourists to come to Egypt this summer. Famous story in Police Museum also. People they know, the battle between Egyptian police and the English troops, English forces in Ismailia city. Famous main building of police. English people, they want this building. There was a lot of officer and soldier working there. They want to leave the building to take it as a rest house. Egyptian officer and soldier refused to leave the building. They said on our dead bodies, resisting these troops. But we had simple guns. And the English troops outside with cannon and tanks. After they kill 52 officer and soldier, the chief of English police said, we stop ceasefire. People dying, we destroy the building, we can't use it as a rest house. And they get out from his tank and walked until the main entrance of this main police center in Ismailia city and bow and raise his hat to salute Egyptian police. He said, this is the bravest people I have seen in my life. And when this battle? 25th of January 1952. And now they make this day Police Fest.
Yes, of course, the national day for the police.
National Museum, Police Museum.
On the 25th of
One
January.
of them in 1986 they opened.
Yes,
as a museum.
Yes, the 25th of January in 1952.
25th of January 1952, 7 months before revolution.
Yes, exactly. You've also mentioned that the weapons inside the National Police Museum, they date back to the times of ancient Egypt. Is that correct?
Inside in the museum, people, they see interesting pieces of swords, lances, helm, daggers, weapons from the time of pharaohs until nowadays. For example, you have seen the stick with carrying President Sadat under his arm. This is ancient Egyptian tradition. When people in Egypt, they see a person carrying this stick under his arm, this is the chief of the army. And became now spread in the world. You see generals in First and Second World War, they carry this stick under their arm. Came from Egypt. Good ideas came from Egypt.
Sir, of course, as we discussed, we are approaching the 30th of June, of course, which was a turning point in the history of Egypt, the 30th of June Revolution 2013, and it was a turning point. And today we bring today's episode of Nile Cruise. We bring today's episode of Nile Cruise from the Police National Museum. Could you tell us, please, sir, about the importance of the police in this very important museum, which of course, was a turning point in the history of Egypt?
We're talking about the weapons inside. Not only from the time of the pharaohs, from the time of Saladin. And we can see shield from the time of Greek-Roman time. They were demonstration against the Romans. Egyptians, they made demonstration against Roman. You see a shield from the time of Roman. Also in the time of Saladin, lances, helm of Saladin, and swords. And we see weapons from the time of Saladin during Mamluk's time until nowadays, until Turkish time. Mm-hmm. Very important thing inside the museum. We see a trick gun. You know trick gun. If you carry a normal gun, this is people they see you, but it's like a stick. We made it in Egypt.
On the other hand, you've mentioned, Mr. Muhammad, the COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic, and how it affected the whole world and not just Egypt. Of course, Egypt It has a lot of tourists coming every year, millions of tourists coming every year. How did you see Egypt and the government and the Ministry of Tourism dealing with the coronavirus pandemic after it and during it?
We see the whole time our government, they made all the best to bring a lot of tourists to Egypt. But after this problem ended, all people, they took this vaccine, they will come to Egypt. They don't scared to come. If you have something against this COVID-19, you can't scared to come to Egypt. It's safe. Yes, we expect a lot of tourists. They're coming in the next few months. Millions.
Okay, Mr. Mohammed, every tourist that comes to visit Egypt, their main aim is the pyramids. There are many tourists, of course, the Sphinx. There are many sites that they target. The citadel is not, of course, it's very well known, but not all tourists know about the citadel. How do we work on social media and work to enhance the idea of people knowing more about the citadel and knowing more about that they have to come and visit this wonderful historical place that we do have here in Egypt, and it's a monumental place?
Egypt, we don't have only pyramids and citadel. We have a lot of monuments, very important. For example, Old City, Old Cairo.
You mean the
What
Mu'azz
you can
Street,
see,
sir?
all this church is there.
Oh, of course.
Nearly 1,500 years ago. We can see there also synagogue, one of the oldest synagogue, the oldest mosque in whole Africa, Amr Mosque, very important area, Old Cairo. We see, people, they can see also street of Al-Mu'izz, a lot of houses and monuments from the time of Fatimid until modern time. The whole street, houses and monuments. You can visit this interesting street near Bazaar, Al-Hussein.
Yes, of course.
And you see also Saqqara, not only pyramid, Saqqara. You see the oldest pyramid in the whole world, the oldest stone building in the whole world, 5,000 years ago, and tombs of nobles, upper class of Egypt. It's very important area. Memphis, the oldest capital of Egypt. You know, we had in Egypt, the oldest country in the world. We have organized country, king, administration, ministers, progressive countries from 5,000 years ago. Saqqara, Memphis, Old City. Of course, if you're interested to see Cairo Tower, to see the panorama of the whole city. This is not only citadel and pyramids. Egyptian Museum is still also for visit.
And the Grand Egyptian Museum.
Egyptian Museum in city center in Tahrir,
Tahrir.
Square. Monuments from the time of pharaohs until Greek-Roman time. 150,000 pieces, objects there. But they transferred or transported monuments of Tutankhamun. But still, most famous museum in the whole world, the oldest building as a museum in the whole world, built 110 years ago.
Yes, under President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as we are celebrating the 30th of June Revolution, under the tenure of President al-Sisi, how did you see that tourism is one of his priorities, to be renovating the touristic sites and building new museums in different places, even like Sharm el-Sheikh in southern Egypt? How did you see this as a priority under the tenure of President al-Sisi, celebrating his anniversary of being elected as president of Egypt?
Nowadays, in the time of the Mr. President Sisi, this is mini building they founded. We can't dream to build this building, but we found it in reality. The biggest museum in the whole world. A lot of monuments we'll see in this museum.
The Grand Egyptian Museum.
Near the pyramids.
Yes.
Scandaria
The
Desert
gem.
Road.
Yes.
Nearly far away from the pyramids, 3 kilometers. Will be the biggest museum in the whole world.
Yes, it's in Medan
We
Remaya,
dream
sir.
to see a building like this, because we have in the store halls everywhere many monuments in the store hall. We must show the whole world this one. Also, like civilization museum on Old Cairo. Also interesting to see the old mummies, famous pharaohs like Ramses II. Also monuments from the beginning of, not from the pharaoh's time, before history until nowadays. In this museum.
Yes, sir. Ahmed mentioned a concept of that under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, many museums were opened or inaugurated, like Sharm el-Sheikh, like Ahmed mentioned, and in Upper Egypt as well, which is really impressing. And he's doing all of this, facing all the challenges of the coronavirus pandemic, which is not only here in Egypt, but it's global, of course. And we all know it is a pandemic that faced all the entire world. However, Egypt stood and made more achievements, and our president made loads of achievements. So we are referring to the museums at Sharm el-Sheikh that we inaugurated by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and in Upper Egypt as well.
I didn't mean this is only they built two museums in this time, but for example, if some people they will visit after some months Old Cairo, you didn't see Old Cairo churches, they see biggest garden in the whole world, modern lake. It was simple houses, removed the simple houses and built open area for people, big garden. Was everything there, restaurants. Not only this, everywhere they took care of monuments, restoration.
Yes, Mr. Mohammed Mustafa, the former director of the Citadel Monuments and tour guide. Thank you very much for being with us today on Nile Cruise.
Thank you.
Sir, it was a pleasure to have you with us, of course. Dear viewers, you're still watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV. I'm Rana Al-Qassas, joined with Ahmed Nader. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Don't go away.